Okay, so we are going to be working through data validation. So data validation helps you to validate a particular input so that you can be sure that this particular input comes in. So in cases where you use data validation is where you have to share, a spreadsheet with someone else, or maybe two people are working on the same spreadsheet at the same time. So in order to make sure that the same kind of data that is expected is inserted, that is where you use data validation. So let's say we have name and we have age and we have let's say country, for example. So in the name section here, if you want to insert a data validation and you select this, then you go to data and select data validation. um the selection contains some cells without data validation cells. Do you want to extend data validation? Yeah, do that. So the name here, right? So I want to make sure that if you are inserting a name, the length should be at least 1 and you can only put a maximum of 32. So let's say here I want to put I'm writing a name. So and I have James, you know, James is here, right? And James is valid. And from James I'm adding something there. Let me say James, uh the big boy is doing fine all the time in the days of the week. Now you're saying that because it's more than 32. It's saying the value doesn't match the validation restriction. So in this case, you have to be within the length, right? It can't be more than 32 and it can be a minimum of 1. So the H part, the H can be, anything, right? So but then if someone writes age as 30 or let's say 10, you see nothing happens because we just write, and 10 is also valid. So, but then we want to make sure the 10 you're writing is a number. So how do you do that? You go to data validation again, and this time you put O number, and then you want the O number to be, you don't want 0 years old applying, right? Or filling your form, right? So you want a minimum of at least 18 years of age, and then you want a maximum of, let's say 60 to be here, right? So that's it. So if I'm trying to enter 10 here, or maybe let's say 30, I'll get an error, right? Because it's not valid. So, and then if I try to enter 12, I'll get an error because it's not valid. So until I'm entering a minimum of 18 and a maximum of 60, so something like 61 to won't pass. And that is, so it applies to all of these cells, right? And that's basically how you do that. So in case of the country, let's see what we can validate here. For the country, let's look at things we can do. Okay, so we can say we can use a list, right? We can use a list. And from this list, you are going to type it in. There are two ways to do this, and one of my videos explain how you create this particular drop down and all of that. So but in this case, we want to create a list. I have a video dedicated solely to this. So but what we just do here is we have the countries, right? We can have Nigeria, we can have Spain, we can have Canada, and we can have Rwanda. So when we click OK here, it means when you're coming here to select a country, right, you can only select from the list. You cannot do anything outside the country that is specified. So another thing that you observe is when you try to put a number that is not valid, right? Maybe I put 12 here. You see it's giving us a particular error message. It said this value doesn't match the data validation restriction defined for this call. So we can actually update this particular thing. We can update this particular text, and we'll try to do that now. So we go back to the cells individually, and when I select this, and then we say the error alert, right? Error alert here will be title. We say error. We say invalid input. Then I can say based on that, say you cannot enter, you need words between 2 to 32, between 1 to 32 characters, right? So when I put this up, so let's say I'm trying to enter something that is very big, something wide, James, the big boy, and all of that, pressing all of it in here. And you see, say you need words between 1 to 32 characters, right? So I'll cancel that. So for the age also, you can also do the same thing. You go back to, the data validation part, and the error alert here, you can also say invalid range, valid range, or say you need to be between, or let me say age need to be between 18 and 60 years old. 60 years old, and we have okay, right? So if you try to put in 12, for example, we get a error say age need to be between 18 and 60 years old. So the same thing here in Rwanda, right? Basically, when you apply all of these feeds, you can just have it up, and what you want to say is um let me say invalid selection, and then what I'll say is um the specified country is not on the list. So you might be wondering what could happen here that will cause all of this. So I can actually come into this Rwanda and say I want to type my own country, and a country like Ghana. I want to type a country like Ghana here. You see the specified country is not on the list. So it's making sure that you have to select basically anything on this list. And yeah, so this is how you do data validation in Excel. And yeah, I'll keep on expanding on this gradually and helping you through it. Thank you very much.